Good afternoon, Grace Church. Come with me on a time machine back to 2021 when we weren't meeting together in person, but instead we were meeting together on Zoom. But it's not 2021. It's the first Sunday of 2026. So congratulations. Happy New Year to you. Well done making it to 2026. Hope your new year was decent and you had a nice peaceful Christmas as well. Fantastic. It's great to even just be kind of doing a message over this medium that we have here, even though we can't be together in person today, sadly. But hopefully we'll be back together next week and that will be fab. So, what I'm going to talk about today, the first thing is the Green Bay Packers here in green and the Chicago Bears in blue. These two teams hate each other. They absolutely despise each other. They've been in the same division and the same conference for years and years. In fact, their rivalry dates back to 1921, and they've played each other 212 times since that. The record is that the Bears have won 97 of those games, so the Packers have won 109 of those games, and they've also tied 6 times. So these two teams have played each other an awful lot. Now, by being in the same division, they have to play each other twice a year, once home and once away. It's really important depending on who wins, because the better record that you have means that you are more likely to advance into the playoffs and then hopefully get to the big final, which is known as the Super Bowl. So this year, both teams are doing really well, which is unexpected because the Bears haven't been very good for quite some time. And they played each other 3 weeks ago, and the Packers won narrowly then 3 weeks ago. A week ago, they played again, so this time it was at the Bears' home, so the Packers won the Packers' home. The Bears were hosting the Packers then a week ago, and the Packers, although they hadn't scored many points, they were dominating the game. And so coming towards the end of the game, it was looking good for them, to be fair. Even though they hadn't scored a lot, they were dominating. However, the Bears scored. Now, in American football, when one team scores, they have to kick it back to the other team. Generally, the idea would be that you kick the ball to the other team and try and pin them as far back as they can, so they've got a further to advance down the field so they can score again. However, what you can do is, if you're a bit behind, but not by a whole lot, you can try and do what they call an onside kick. Now, when you do an onside kick, basically, you've just scored, so you're kicking the ball to the other team. The ball has to travel 10 yards before the kicking team can try to recover it. Previously, you could disguise the fact that you were going to do an onside kick and do it on a sneaky, do you know what I mean? So that you didn't tell the team. Nowadays, the rules have changed so that you have to tell the team when you're going to do an onside kick so they can prepare for it. So it gives a big advantage to the other team. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you a minute's worth of clip from that game. It might not work so well on the screen by here, but I'll show it anyway, and then I'll stick it on the WhatsApp for you to love and enjoy later. And there's a bit of a masterclass there in terms of an onside kick and how to recover it. So the Bears are going to kick it to the Packers. The Bears are in blue. The Packers are the team in white. The Packers, all they need to do is to catch the ball. So they'll put the players on the pitch with the best hands, the best people to catch the ball. As long as they catch the ball, they can sit on it and they can run out the clock and effectively win the game. And you'll hear the commentator say that the likelihood of the kicking team actually recovering the ball is very slim indeed. Very slim. I think he gives it about 8% chance. So here's a masterclass in the onside kick.
Kick, it's laying around, gotta pick it up, and it's loose on the ground. Who's gonna get it? Oh, the Bears have it! Are you serious? It's been an 8% chance all year, and somehow the Bears get it. Unbelievable. Another fourth quarter. Oh my God, Dobbs got it. He takes his eye off the ball. And at that point, there's so many black jerseys around the ball. God, you put your most sure-handed players out there. Dobbs is certainly that for the Packers. But a huge mistake here at the end. Crazy. Unbelievable.
So the Packers player Dobbs, he had one job, And his one job was to catch the ball, lay down on it, and then the referees would blow the play dead. It's Packers' ball. The Packers could run out the clock. I won't tell you what happened in the rest of the game because you might want to check it out yourself. You probably won't, but never know. And but that was his one job. And I felt in that moment God speak to me about keeping our eye on the ball. He had the best hands on the team, and yet he took his eye off the ball. And because he took his eye off the ball, he dropped the ball and the other team were able to recover it. God is saying to us at the start of this year, 2026, keep your eye on the ball. But what does that mean for us? What I feel that means for us is revisiting our vision and our values of who we are and what we're all about. Keep your eye on the ball. Stay focused. Know who we are. Yesterday as a team, leadership team, we were praying. And as we were praying, Emma had a picture of like a dartboard and a target. She didn't know what I was going to speak on today. But I really felt that kind of resonated with this talk of being accurate, being sharp, keeping your eye on the target, keeping your eye fixed on Jesus. So, looking at vision and values, why is it important to kind of do that? Well, number one is that we have new people coming into the church and maybe they don't know what we're all about, who we are, what our vision and values are. But secondly, for those people who've been in the church a long time, there's a phrase that says vision leaks. And if we don't revisit who we are, sometimes maybe we'll miss it, we'll miss what we're all about, we get distracted, we drop the ball. And that's the last thing we want. So we want to make sure that we are on the ball. So, a few years ago, we had a fella in the church with us called Josh. He's an outstanding guy. Josh Pike, his name was. And in terms of us kind of coming up with our vision and values, he presented this idea. It wasn't his idea, but it was an idea from a fella called Simon Sinek, I think. And in terms of vision and values, Simon Sinek said, first thing you need to do as an organization, church, whatever, is to identify why you exist. Because a lot of the times people will just tell you what they do. And you might lose kind of, well, yeah, okay, I get what you do, but I don't understand why. But when you explain to somebody why we do what we do, I get it now, that makes sense. So we know why we do what we do, and then we know how we do what we do, and then we know what we do, okay? So it works that way round rather than the other way round. So we'll be looking at that today, why we do what we do, how we do it, and what is it that we actually physically do. So, the first point. Why do we exist? Why does Grace Church exist? Why did we bother in the first place? Well, we are a Jesus-focused church, unashamedly. That's who we are. We are Jesus lovers, we are Jesus followers, we want to be made more like Jesus. And we base ourselves on this scripture, John 3:16. It says, "For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, so that everyone who believes in him will not perish, but have eternal life." We exist because of Jesus. Bottom line, to make Jesus known to the people of Clace. We want to represent him as faithfully as we can. We want to be like him as to anybody and everybody that we come across. We want to be more like Jesus. Again, it was challenged yesterday in our leaders meeting, is that this time next year, I want to be more like Jesus than I was this year. I want to have spent more time with him and have him rub off me. I want to be a God chaser and I want to replicate Jesus. So we exist for the people out there who don't come to church. We exist to make Jesus known. And the best way of doing that is to make friends with people, to have friends out there who don't know Jesus. Sometimes as church you can get into a little bubble of people who are your friends and they're just people who go to church. And it's a beautiful thing, you know, you can encourage one another, but no one out there is getting changed in terms of becoming more like Jesus if all we're ever doing is spending time with one another. So we need to spend time with Jesus and then make friends and be with other people. It's quite simple. The Pharisees kind of asked Jesus, they're always trying to challenge him, you know, what the most important commandment is. And he kind of boiled it down to, you know, love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul and strength, and love your neighbour as yourself. And John put it like this in 1 John 3:16, so the letter of John, the first letter, he says, love God, love people. It's as simple as that. We don't need to make it complicated. We don't need to have some strategy or, you know, some clever idea. Jesus wants us to be as simple as possible. Just love God, love him, and love everybody else. It's really hard. but it's really simple at the same time. Really, really simple. So this is who we are, bottom line, is we're called to love God with all that we are, with all that we have, and then to love people. Because heaven is populated with people. That is the treasure of heaven. The business of heaven is worship. And you guys, I love it. This is the one thing I'm missing out on most today, is worshiping with you. I absolutely love it. So we got the business of heaven going down. I think we know what we're doing there. You're onto a winner. But in terms of the treasure of heaven is people. And there's always room for more. There is always room for more. So we want to love God with all we have. And we want to love people as well. Rick Warren is an American church leader, and I think he wrote the Purpose-Driven Life and some other books, but that's the one he's kind of really famous for. And he gave us a couple of quotes here which are really good. He says, God teaches us to love by putting some unlovely people around us. So God teaches us to love by putting some really unlovely people around us. That's quite challenging, especially when you realise that that unlovely person is me. Yeah, I posted it on Facebook today. God grant me the serenity to accept the fact that I can't change people, but the understanding to know that there's someone I can change, and that person is me. Yeah, but we're not called to change anybody. We're called to love people. Yeah, and Rick Warren also says this: it takes no character to love people who are lovely and loving to you. Again, very challenges. It takes no character to love people who are just like you. Yeah? And that's why it's super important that we do have friends outside of church who maybe think differently to us, who speak differently to us. You know, and that's what it's all about. We exist for people who don't yet come to Grace Church. Yeah? And we're called to love everybody, whether they're like us or not, whether they look like us, sound like us, dress like us, have the same thoughts and beliefs as us. That doesn't matter. We're just called to love. We're called to love. Jesus said this in Luke chapter 6, verses 27. Love your enemies and be good to everyone who hates you. That's pretty strong stuff. You know, I wouldn't like to think that I'm hated, but it's a possibility, maybe even a probability. But we're called to love. Yeah, it's easy to love those who love us, but the challenge is to love those who don't. Maybe the challenge is to love those who are not fussed on what we're doing as Grace Church, who are maybe not fussed on the coffee shop, or whatever it is. We're called to love. We're called to win people with our love. Someone said to me fairly recently, oh, you can't say nothing anymore, you can't, declare this about Jesus or say that or whatever. I said, no, we might not be able to say things, but they can't stop our love. Yeah? I've never argued anyone into the kingdom of God, but I have loved them in. And that's what we're called to do more than anything else, is to love. So love people who are unlovely. Love people who are not like you. Love people who are a bit different, because that's what it's all about. We offer grace for all. Years ago, the pot of money turned up in Clace, and they called it Clace for all, because that's what they want, is Clace to be for everyone. Well, we want grace to be for everyone. A quote that I love that's coming up on here says that grace draws a circle around everybody, literally everyone, and says that they're in. There's no one excluded. There's no one excluded. Everyone's included. Grace for all. So here it is. It's written by a fellow called Bob Goff. I read one of his daily devotionals a couple of years ago. It was called Live in Grace, Walk in Love. And it's fantastic, a devotional. If you haven't already got a devotional, and you're looking to get one, you're only a few days behind. Get it off Amazon or Eden or somewhere like that. Fantastic. But this challenge really challenged me about drawing a circle around literally everybody. People who other people may write off, people who other people may not want to spend any time with, But grace draws a circle around everyone. Literally everyone says that they're in. They can be in. They can choose Jesus as well. No one is too far gone that Jesus can't reach them. Be encouraged. So yesterday as we were praying as a leadership team, I had this picture, and the picture was of stones on Bracelet Bay. I don't know whether you've ever been to Bracelet Bay, but it's just beyond Mumbles, and you got the Big Apple on the top of the corner, and then you drop into Bracelet Bay then, and you got what was Castlemare. I can't remember what it's called now even, but Bracelet Bay is just down by there, and Limeslade Bay as well. And either one of those bays, you'll have the tide kind of washing in and washing out, waves coming in and coming out, and stones shaped like this. And I really felt that God was saying that, that we are called to be, well, the scriptures say, I think it's in Peter in the New Testament, that we are called to be living stones. That we've got a church building which is fab, but we are the church. It's just a building. It's a fantastic vehicle to bless other people and welcome people in. But we are the church. It's just, So we're called to be living stones, but we're also called to be amongst other people. And as God washes in and washes out in terms of the tide coming in and coming out, as the stones rub together, it rubs off all the rough edges and they become smooth. And we're called to be amongst other people, to be washing in and washing out and having our rough edges rubbed off as well. Because someone once told me, a wise man said that often when you're kind of praying for other people and spending time with them, you're praying that God will do a work in them. But while you're doing that, God is doing a work in you. Someone said recently that when you're praying for somebody, God is often changing your heart towards that person, as well as, answering your prayer and stuff as well. So, but in terms of these stones, the waves washing in and washing back out again, that we need to be amongst other people. Because there's all different shapes and sizes of stones there. There's all different colours of stones there. It's a beautiful mix of stones. When you go to the beach, they're not rarely all exactly the same. And in the same way then, God is calling us to be amongst other people, loving God, loving people. And as God washes us into people and washes us out, rubbing shoulders with people, smoothing off the rough edges, sorry. And so just be encouraged with that, to spend time with people this year, to be rubbing shoulders, to be making friends and living intentionally. It says, this is a great quote, I don't know who came up with it, but it says, when Jesus said to love your neighbour, he knew your neighbour would look, believe and love differently from you. And it's kind of the whole point. So when Jesus said, love your neighbour, he knew that neighbour would be different to you. He knew they would. And that's the point. That's why when he told the story of the Good Samaritan, it was so toe-curlingly awkward for the Jewish people, because they hated Samaritans. They hated them. They thought they were scum. They thought they were second-class citizens. But that Samaritan helped the Jewish person. They helped them, even though they didn't maybe regard them that well, or felt hated by them, or whatever it was. We're called to love. We're called to love. We are called to love. Love God, love people. So how do we move? How do we do what we do as Grace Church? So that's who we are. That's why we exist. We exist because of Jesus and we want to make him known. But how do we do what we do? Well, we love and we welcome everybody unconditionally. I love the fact that we're a welcoming church. I love the fact that when you look on the back of every chair that we have at Grace Church, you won't find anybody's name on it, because the chairs don't belong to anybody, and I would hope that we would give up our chair for somebody new coming in. And it's absolutely fantastic. We will welcome anybody and we will love everybody and anybody unconditionally. Everybody and anybody. We're relaxed and we like to have fun. One of the things I loved most about our Christmas carol service was right at the start when I said, let's have a cheer for the carols or something like that. And everybody cheered. It's like you don't get that in other churches. Why? Because we like to have fun. Life is hard. It is hard. It just is hard. We go through difficult times. So it's important that we have fun, and we can have fun with the Lord as well. We can have fun in his presence. We can be children in our Father's presence, in our Father's arms. So when we get together, we love to have fun. We love to have a laugh. We love to be as interactive as we can in terms of our talks. I'll chuck out a cheesy dad joke every now and again, just because it's good to have fun. It's good to be relaxed. We want to come away from Grace Church, meeting together, feeling like we can take on the world. Yeah? Not feeling depressed and down and disheartened. Feeling like God is with us and he is for us, not against us. Yeah? We believe in the Bible and we follow its teachings. I love the fact that people are buying into the Bible study on a Friday, that it's one of our biggest growing groups. and it is absolutely fantastic. Jocelyn does a brilliant job. So I encourage you to get there for that. So we believe the Bible, we teach the Bible. Adam has started this WhatsApp group now this year, Stronger Together, and we're going to go through the Bible, the whole thing in a year. Fantastic, I love it. Why? Because we want to get to know the author. We want to know God. We want to know Jesus. We want to know how it all pieces together. It's absolutely brilliant. So we are Bible-believing people, and we want to make our lives fit in with what the Word says and not the other way around. Yeah? Because that's where the power is following Jesus, following his words, following his teaching, because they are life and they are light to us. And lastly, we dream big, and we encourage you to dream bigger. We want to, as a church, if you're doing stuff that's kind of not beyond what you think you can do, then maybe your dream isn't from God, yeah? But we took on a building we didn't know we could afford. And God has blessed us, which is immense. And we're doing more things now than a lot of other churches out there. We're punching well above our weight. Why? Because we're encouraging people to dream dreams and have a go. Yeah. So in terms of, like I say, Adam with the WhatsApp, he said, "Can we do this?" Of course, we crack on, ads. It's a brilliant idea. Brilliant, fantastic. And Gail and Jan, I can't remember the name now, but Gail said, "Can we start a Bible study?" Yeah, of course you can. Crack on. Yeah. Knitting group. Crack on. Get on. Brilliant. Whatever it is, let's reach people. What is it? The dreams that you have. That's why next week we want to be looking at what do we want Grace Church to look like. What are there other things that we could be doing that we could dream about doing? Because I know recently. People in the area of Clace would love to have youth provision going on, and we just haven't got that ability at the minute to kind of facilitate that. But that's something maybe further down the line that potentially we could look at, whatever, depending on the people we get. But what is it in your heart? What is in your heart to do? What dreams do you have? What can we as a church do to facilitate that? So that's how we move. We love people, we welcome people unconditionally, we're relaxed, we like to have fun, we like to have a laugh. We are Bible-believing people, and we dream big. We want to dream big. Bigger than we can imagine, bigger than we can manage. Yeah? Fantastic. So what do we actually do? What is it at Grace Church that we do? So what do? We have engaging, family-friendly, weekly meetings that are open and accessible to all. So our meetings, we hope that they're engaging. We hope that they keep your attention, so they're not too long. We try to use media, and all those kinds of things, because we realise that people learn in different ways. Some people, anyway, we talk about learning styles, but people learn in different ways, and I'm a visual learner, so I like to see things on a screen. It's helpful for me. So we want to be engaging. We want to be family friendly. We want the kids to make a noise, because I would rather have noisy kids in a church than no kids whatsoever. And because we have kids spots. And it's super important, the kids spots. It's not an opportunity just for the kids to be entertained. It's an opportunity for us all to learn, because again, we learn in different ways. And sometimes there'll be a nugget of truth in that kids spot that may make you think, God, I never thought of that. So when someone's doing a kids spot, give your full attention. Why? Because it encourages the kids to give their full attention as well, but it honours the person doing the kids spot. So let's be attentive. Let's be praying for the kids when the kids spot is going on, because it's an opportunity for truth to go in there. But we try to package it, that kids spot, for the kids, but it's a simple truth that somebody walking through the door who maybe has never come to church before can again grasp that truth. So we want to be family friendly. We want to welcome families, in any way that we can. We want to facilitate relaxed and fun community coffee shop for families and individuals so they can connect with their community. And our coffee shop is coming up to its second birthday now in February, so we feel that we are doing that. We know from people coming in and telling us that sometimes things that we run in the coffee shop, or just the coffee shop itself, if it wasn't there, people wouldn't leave the house. We've got people come into groups who would say they would never come to church, who don't see themselves as religious or church people at all, who've not only come to the coffee shop, who come to groups and came to the carol service. Yeah? It's absolutely fantastic. It's a vehicle for us to reach people for Jesus. So that's what we said that we would do, and that's what we're doing. We are facilitating that. And, I can't speak highly enough of Chloe and Hannah. They are brilliant at leading that coffee shop through, at welcoming people, at making people feel at home. People can talk about the quality of the coffee, which is fab, and the nice cakes, but it's the welcome that they feel, the care and the love that they feel. So when you walk through the door and you welcome other people through there, you are part of that as well. You are making people feel welcome. You are making people feel loved. You are making people feel the presence of God. So, coffee shop, that's something else we do. We focus on building strong relationships and discipling one another through friendships, fun, and house groups. So one of my favourite scriptures is in the book of Proverbs. It's Proverbs 27:17, and it says, as iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. We sharpen one another. That's why we have house groups. That's why we meet on a Sunday. That's why we have Bible studies. That's why we do men's breakfast. All these different things and others is so that we can spend time with one another, have some fun, but challenge one another as well to become more like Christ. So these are the reasons why we do what we do, but also so we can welcome other people into them as well. Because Jesus said in Matthew 28, go and make disciples. Not go and make decisions, not go and get people to just choose Jesus. Discipleship starts way before that happens. We invite fellas to the men's breakfast who are not interested in church. We got, ladies come into knitting groups, etc., who are not interested in church per se, but really they are. I read an article once that said a man who walks into a brothel is really looking for Jesus. That might sound like a bizarre thing, but people are looking for something to be filled in here. They're looking for a longing to be filled in here. They're looking for Jesus. And we can give them Jesus. We really can. So be encouraged in that. And we encourage and support people to run with their individual visions from God. So I've given you a couple of examples, like the Bible study this year, like different groups, book club, anything like that, the cooking demos that we did before. What is it that God has called you to do? If we can facilitate it, we certainly will. Years ago, we read a book together called Scattered Servants. And in there, the church leader said that, he encouraged his congregation to come up with as many ideas as they can for things they wanted to do as a church, as long as they were evangelistic. And I hope and pray that everything that we do is seeking to win people. And we do that first and foremost through friendship. We earn the right to say the words. We earn the right. We've built the relationship to say the words. So these are the things that we do, what we actually do. We have engaging family-friendly meetings on a weekly basis. They're accessible to everyone. We facilitate a coffee shop that is chilled out and welcoming to everyone. We focus on building relationships with one another because we want to be more like Jesus. And lastly, we encourage and support one another to run with your vision, run with your dreams. It's not all down to one person. Everybody can have a dream. Everybody can have a go. So, in terms of keeping our eye on the ball, this is who we are. We are Jesus people. We're called to love God and love others. Right? Simple as that. And it says this in the book of Hebrews, chapter 12, verses 1 and 2. Let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of our faith. We're called to run, so it's active. We're called to go, we're called to do, and we're called to run with perseverance. It's not a sprint. It's not a race. It's a marathon. It's a long race throughout the life. And there's a verse, well, not a verse, like a parable or something that says, if you want to run fast, run on your own. But if you want to run far, run together. As a church, we want to go far, so we're going together. And how do we do it? By fixing our eyes on Jesus, keeping our eye on the ball. And that's how we will be victorious. Keeping our eye on the ball. He is the pioneer and the perfecter of our faith. Let me pray. Jesus, right at the start, right at the outset of 2026, we want to be people who are fully committed to you. We want to be honest with you this month in terms of where our relationship is with you. And we wanted to get back on track if it slipped or drifted, or maybe use our Monday prayer and fasting as a way to make sure that we ground ourselves every week in you. So Jesus, at the start of 2026, we want to be people who love God and who love people, and who draw big circles around everybody and say that they're in, say that they're welcome, say that they're one of us, say that they are Grace Church too. I pray that we would keep our eye on the ball, that we would know who we are as a church and what we're all about, that we welcome, that we love, that we accept, and that we show Jesus. So God, I pray that we would surrender ourselves to you afresh right at the start of this year and declare that we are Jesus people. We want to reflect Jesus as best we can. We want to demonstrate who he is. We want to shine for him. So move in power upon us, I pray, in your precious name. Amen. Thank you, everybody. Love you all. And hopefully either see you tomorrow night at the prayer meeting or next Sunday. Amen.